Le ministre radical et libéral de
Radical Liberal Environment Minister is threatening to impose an order in council which would put at risk thousands of jobs in the Quebec forestry sector. I would undo that radical order in council in order to protect those jobs. But until I can do so, there will be an increase in the cost of lumber and wood for home building. We will also see job losses. How many Quebecers will lose their jobs because of this radical Liberal order in council? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, for decades now, the federal government has had a responsibility to protect species at risk throughout the country. We need to protect species at risk. In this situation, the woodland caribou is impacted. When we protect species, we work with the provinces and territories and various orders of government. We're going to work with our partners to ensure that we protect both jobs and species at risk. I look forward to continuing to work with the Government of Quebec to protect both the environment and jobs. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Yes, but Quebecers can protect both of those because this matter falls under provincial jurisdiction, Mr. Speaker. The Bloc has maintained this radical Liberal government in power. They've kept them in power, and that's how the Prime Minister is able today to impose this order in council, which will kill a bunch of jobs. And the Minister said that the Bloc, and in fact, it's been reported that the government might in fact get involved and interfere with this file. Why is the Prime Minister and his minister deciding to get involved and interfere with Quebec's jurisdiction to kill jobs in the forestry sector? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Well, Mr. Speaker, another day, more evidence that the Conservative Party simply does not understand that to build a strong future is to protect both the environment and the economy. We cannot build a strong economy without protecting the environment, and that is exactly what we are doing. On the other side of the House, though, they don't have the ability or the desire or a plan to protect the environment, to protect species at risk, or to protect the future of Canadian children. Mr. Speaker, we need a plan to protect the environment. That's what we're delivering on. But the Prime Minister's, the Conservatives don't even have a plan.
Just common sense Conservatives who are saying that the Prime Minister's latest tax hike on small businesses, farmers, home builders, and healthcare is not worth the cost. Now, former Liberal Treasury Board President Scott Bryson says the Prime Minister's support for the tax hike is a combination of moral sanctimony and economic complacency from ministers who simply do what PMO tells them. He calls it socialist bafflegab. Why is the Prime Minister going ahead with killing jobs and raising costs with what his own Liberals call socialist bafflegab?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, despite the Conservative leader's partisan attacks, the raise on capital gains inclusion rates is very simple. If Canadians make more than $250,000 in profit from selling investments in a given year, we're asking them to share a little more of those profits with Canadians who need those investments, whether it's by investing in housing, whether it's standing up for school food programs, whether it's delivering dental care to seniors. These are investments we're making to support Canadians by asking the wealthiest to pay their fair share.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It's not partisanship for me. It's his own former Liberal Treasury Board President who calls it socialist bafflegab. In fact, the tax begins applying on the very first dollar that a small business earns. And, you know, he's been promising that raising taxes would make life fair. We find out today from the Food Banks Association of Canada that now a record-smashing 25% of Canadians live in poverty after 9 years of his taxes, his deficits, and his doubling housing costs. Why is he going ahead with the same wackonomics that caused the poverty in order to solve it?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition opposition talks about affordability, but he's standing against raising taxes on the wealthiest so we can give more supports to those who actually need it. He's standing against our school food program, which is going to help 400,000 kids across the country have fuller bellies as they study, and take the pressure off about $800 a year for families who are pressed with the cost of groceries. We're continuing to deliver dental care supports to seniors, and as of next week, to young people and Canadians with disabilities. We're there for Canadians. He's voting against it.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It has been 9 years of this Prime Minister promising trickle-down economics, that if he just takes money away from small businesses and workers, it will go from one level of government to another level of government to another level of government. It will trickle down. And now 25% of Canadians are living in poverty, something he tried to cover up, just like he covered up his own data showing $25 billion of extra costs with the carbon tax, nearly $2,000 in carbon tax cover-up for every single family. How can we trust anything he says about taxes, poverty, or money?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition hid for 8 weeks while he was trying to come up with an answer to us asking the wealthiest to pay their fair share so we could invest in fairness for every generation. I think he needs to go back to the drawing board because his answer is completely illogical and unfounded. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to delivering for Canadians struggling with food prices, we've got a national school food program that's going to help 400,000 kids that party is voting against, Mr. Speaker. They talk about affordability, but they're actually only interested in themselves and their political advantage.